Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? This is SCL0320 representing JVS. Normally I don't do this, but I'm going to start with the spoiler review first. So, I don't know whether or not I'm going to release out this spoiler review right away, or it might be the week before the release. I don't really know, but I've got to see the movie Blair Witch, which is actually a sequel to the Blair Witch Project that came out, was it 1989? I can't remember the actual date. But I can definitely say that this is, this is very reminiscent of that one versus the second movie. The second movie, which kind of goes off in its own tangent by itself. Some people like the second one more than they did the first one, because the first one was more so of a documentary, and it was left for your observation if this is real or not, because nothing necessarily supernatural happened, but very ominous looking. You know, it's something like you would probably see on YouTube back in the day on a random VHS that was found. So this one, it takes from that element in a lot of regards, but I'm about to go into full spoil. So if you've not seen the movie, if you don't want to be spoiled, please stop watching. I haven't even done my non-spoiler review. I don't know how I'm going to do it, because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. But all I can say, let's go ahead and get into this. So this is, first of all, this was directed by Adam Wingard. Wingard, he directed VHS, VHS 2. He did a couple of The Outcast, which is Robert Kirkman's series that is on, is it Cinemax? And then he did the You're Next. And all those movies have this level of dread, fright, and scares that leave you kind of like, you know, like people in my movie were freaking out. Guys were screaming, girls were like this in dread and terror, and generally, like, the way the build-up process, it processed just like any old generic horror film. But just like the first one, like, because it's in this kind of camera format, it leaves things so much more up for interpretation. But I'll talk about my negatives before I talk about my positives as far as the spoilers. Because the movie it centers around a person named James. James is a guy that his sister was one of the ones that was the original one that got missing in the woods. And James feels like if he finds his house, then he could be able to figure out what happened with his sister. So he takes a team, which Peter, he was one of the ones that was out there looking for the sister. He was in the woods before, black guy. And then they got a crew. This is Lisa, and then Peter's girlfriend, Ashley. And then you got Talia and Lane, who were kind of like YouTube phenoms for finding like some found footage in the woods, supposedly, quote unquote. You find out Lane and Talia are full of crap. I mean, well, it's up for interpretation whether or not they are, but it's definitely they were trying to scare the group into staying there and kind of being a part of the publicity and trying to figure out what really is going on, because they've lived there all their lives. But I mean, with Lane and Talia, for me, it was like, what the heck are they doing? Like, I was like, I like the attitude that they had, because I didn't know if they were setting them up for real. But then at a certain point, Lane, towards the end of the movie, I mean, just years just looked like they've gone by on this man. And it's just like, I don't know, it just was not believable in terms of how he looked. But I mean, when I was in it, I was kind of like, oh wow, this is messed up. As far as Talia, this girl, the actress, what is her name? Valerie Curry, who is normally on The Following. She does a good job acting. She's a great actress. She's very creepy feeling. But it was just like, I didn't know, other than kind of like putting you in the loop of not like this kind of cliche thing, like they would kind of be the ones that actually, you know, to set them up. Turns out that wasn't the case. Like there was one moment towards the end where Valerie was looking and Lane had left, and she was like, we were in the woods for 5 days, where they had only been there one night. And that was one of the things that kind of happened in the original one, where days would kind of just flow through because you didn't know when was night, when was day, and time wasn't relevant, and things and elements start happening. And so, I mean, for that regard, it was actually really cool. It's just, I think that towards the end, it just became very convoluted for me. I think the problem with the movie for me came with how the end executed, which the end for me with James and his friend, what is her name? Lisa. Lisa and James, they were in the house, okay? They finally got to the house. I'm not even gonna go through the process of everything that kind of happened, because I don't want to tell you the whole entire movie, but they get into the house, James gets in there first because he's like, he hears his sister, he sees a light in the house, it's raining outside. It makes no sense. They have been trying for days to try to get back. And all he's like, this is the reason why I'm here. And I was like, come on, bro. So finally he gets in there and he sees something crazy and he tries to get out and he can't, you know? And I was like, okay, well, James is done in, you know, and she's got this kind of conundrum whether or not to go in or stay. She goes and she's trying to leave away from the house. She sees something which is really creepy, gets in the house, and it's like her situation gets even worse because Lane pops up and like he's like got stuff all over his face and he's like something has to be sacrificed in order for you to be able to leave or something to that nature. And she gets pushed in this kind of like this well kind of situation. Now, from a cinematography standpoint, when she gets pushed in like into this hook, like this little tunnel and crevice, and the only thing you see is like this ground tunnel that you don't know where it's going. It's going underground under this terrible looking house. It gives you this feeling of dread. It gives you this feeling of like, man, she's about done, you know? And what's crazy is that I start feeling myself rooting for her. She makes it through. She sees Lane again. She kills Lane. She gets upstairs. Trying to get out, she sees James. They get stuck in there, you know, and I'm thinking, all right, they're going to try to find a way out. They finally figure out that if they look at the Blair Witch, then they could die, you know? So they decide to huddle up at the wall, and like, the stupid thing is, instead of sitting there, no matter how long it takes, no matter what you got to do, you know, James is like, I'm not going to make it, essentially in his head, turns around, gets the neck snap, and killed. He's dead. Then Lisa, she knows what's gonna happen. You know, she turns around, so she's smart. She used the camera. I thought at first she was stupid. She used the camera, kind of pans back, and she's trying to look and coordinate moving backwards so she can get out and navigate out. She gets to the very end. She hears James' voice, right? And it's like she knows it's not James, and she bites it. And that's it. And it ends exactly the way the original ends. And I was like, what kind of mess is, I mean, not that I wanted them to just make this into a brand new franchise, but you learn from what the product was from before, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it was very entertaining. Like, I mean, the good points that I'll say, which I'm gonna mention this even in my non-spoiler review, is that the camera angles were genius. Like, they had cameras that look like those little Bluetooths that had little small cameras that on them at all times, so that the cinematography, it could be, you know, I don't know, like you wouldn't assess whether or not this is real or not. And at the same time, they had like a drone that they were able to look around the canvas. And there wasn't a lot of supernatural things that you could see from a CG standpoint. It was just, I think, the way that they captured it and the way they used the practical effects, the way they used the cinematography was genius. It brings the audience into the immersion effect with things happening. But when you start like, if you're a huge horror buff fan or you just dislike the Blair Witch Project initial one, you are not going to like this one because random noises just pop. You're assuming that the camera and the microphone can't pick up the ambient noises that the actual humans can hear because all they're doing is like, and you can't really hear anything. It's just kind of like blank, you know? And then like the ground shakes, you see stuff like moving, like trees are moving. You're like, what the heck is going on? And I think that that's the thrill of it. If you're going into the movie wanting to be afraid, wanting to be entertained and thrilled, and knowing that these characters are going to make stupid decisions and stupid mistakes, like if some of y'all that are watching it have already watched it now, you will be highly entertained by it. You will kind of be like, what in the heck? Like this was a creepy, crazy, cookie cutter symbolicism of the original. Like in every way. Like, I mean, the things that kind of coordinated, the things that happened, even Peter was at the very end in the house sitting there just staring at the wall. And I'm like, what happened to Peter? Just like I wanted to know what happened to the dude in the original, you know? So, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to give this as a rating in my non-spoiler review. But I definitely say it's a very entertaining ride. If you enjoyed the first Blair Witch, you'll definitely enjoy this one. A lot of people die. I think that one of the things that kind of bothered me, which was good and bad, is what happened to the character, what is her name? is Ashley, the black chick. Ashley and Talia, they start going through a lot of different interesting changes. Like, you can tell either one, they're dealing with kind of like some darkness going on, or there's other things happening with them physically, you know. And Ashley took the blunt of it. It was weird that Lane and Talia put her in that situation when they went through the river and she cut her foot on the rock, and then it got infected. And I was like, James is a paramedic, right? And he proceeds to look at, I know there's a lot of stuff going on around him. He proceeds to look at the lady's foot. He's like, it's infected. And like, Peter saw like stuff coming out. Like, I was like, there's probably maggots in her foot. That's the reason why every time she's walking, that's why you hear this crunching sound, which just sounds like actually cracking of the bones. And there might be some supernatural stuff going on. But for me, him being a paramedic, I mean, I would believe that he would do more than just be like, all right, well, we're gonna need to get her to, like, what if in the event that you couldn't, you know? I was feeling like he could have done a lot more. And then even with Ashley at a certain point, the whole tent just goes. Ashley is running like Usain Bolt. And I was like, how did she do that? I mean, I know it's adrenaline, but how? And then she sees, right, the drone, and like, it's up a tree, like not a small tree, a huge tree. She goes all the way up there, y'all. And I'm like, why, Ashley? And she freaking goes up there, gets the drone, and then she falls. And then she gets, her body is pulled away. But for me, like, that made no sense. What point would it help to have the drone at nighttime? I don't even know if the drone had night vision. That was one thing they didn't even explain. Which all the technology they showed, they never showed the usability of the drone, like, other than, okay, it'll see everything from the vast standpoint and trying to see a road. And it's just, I don't know, like, I just thought that was the dumbest thing ever for Ashley as a character. And then for James and the way he treated with Ashley. And I mean, I understood that we were supposed to feel something for, you know, James and Peter's relationship, but I mean, even James, like, once Peter was missing, it's just like, that didn't seem like it bothered him as much as I would have been bothered. You know, like, I was like, dude, I'd be probably freaking out. But anyway, that's my spoiler rant on this. I probably went over a little bit over long. I'm going to be a lot shorter in this non-spoiler review now that I've kind of like processed everything all over again. And I will give this movie, I give it a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's what I'm going to say in my non-spoiler. If something changes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Only reason why I give it that high, I wanted to give it just a 5, is because I know there will be people that will be very highly entertained in this. And my crowd, like, I can't just assess it from my own personal perspective, because I can appreciate it from a cinematography standpoint. I just can't accept the stupidity. But I know the genre, and I know what it was coming from, you know? And it, even though I didn't like think the first one was iconic as it blew up to be, I can appreciate it, you know? And they definitely try to pay homage to it. Whereas kind of like the Evil Dead remake was a lot more gore fest, a lot more serious. They could have took the same approach with this one and just kind of going for it. They kind of did in a way, but like with the Evil Dead, they didn't add any humor like the original had. And unfortunately, this one didn't suffer to that. So, well, fortunately and unfortunately. But anyway, that's my final thoughts on Blair Witch. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that spoiler-filled review. I don't know if I'm releasing it tonight or not. Keep it locked. JVS ain't gonna stop. I'm not talking about Blair Witch anymore. I rebuke and bind that messages and everything. Alright, y'all. Peace.